2026 four-star guard Anthony Felesi. His recruitment is starting to heat up a lot, it seems, after having a really good NBA top 100 camp and some other good play on the circuit. It seems that his recruiting is really starting to heat up. Like I said, the top 40 prospect is now planning a visit to Kentucky as this interest grows. Now, the 6'5", 180-pound shooting guard plays for Utah Prep. And it's funny, his relationship with Pope goes back to Pope at BYU days.
Hmm.
Anthony is obviously playing at Utah Prep. He is, I believe, a member of the LDS Church as well. So he grew up or is playing like 10 minutes from BYU, obviously. So there is a connection there. But now Kentucky is very much getting back in on him. Mark Pope is getting back in on him, and he's now planning a visit to Kentucky, along with some other schools, a varying of schools. Obviously, at BYU is on his list as well. He also said he plans to visit Murray State, Hawaii, as well, but also has some interest from schools like Houston is in the mix, UCLA, Louisville as well. So a wide variety of schools that are on his list for the 6'5" guard who I really like his game. I think his jumper needs to come along a little bit, but it's definitely a lot better than I think it was a couple months ago even. So I think that's kind of why his recruitment is starting to heat up a little bit. But what I really want to get your kind of take on here, Ralph, is his thoughts that he had about Kentucky. He says, I like everything about that program. I have a good relationship with Mark Pope, especially since he came from BYU. I just like everything. It's Kentucky. Kentucky is the best of the best, one of the top schools in the country. I like everything from their offense to their defense. My style of play is focused on defense, and I can do everything on the defensive end. My offensive game will come naturally with them. Interesting thing. I guess it's funny to see a guy who is prioritizing Kentucky, not necessarily talk about because I feel like he made some great points about Kentucky, but he's talked about his defensive game, and kind of letting that be the selling point of him that his offense comes naturally given the things he can do at his size. So, what are your thoughts on his thoughts on Kentucky, and then as far as Kentucky getting kind of back in on this, it seems with Felici. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Anthony. With his recruitment kind of heating back up here.
First off, shout out for taking an official visit to Hawaii.
Smart man, very smart man.
More people got to do that, man. Take advantage of that just to get a free trip to Hawaii. It makes sense. Like you have the relationship with the coach at you can have your debate on what the best basketball program in the country is. I'm not here to debate that, but Kentucky's in the conversation. So when you have the relationship with the coach of arguably the best basketball program in the country, you got to have interest in that, right? Why wouldn't you? I think too, like being a defense first guy, you can probably draw some comparisons to Otega Owe in terms of the role he would have. At least the November through January version of Otega Owe, not the one who became Kentucky's most important player down the stretch of the season, but that kind of role, I think. So you can picture yourself playing that system and what it looks like and the role you'd have. I think that's an easy pitch. Now, you mentioned his background and the ties to Utah and the ties to BYU. I think like that's probably still the school to beat. Like BYU probably has him if they want him. We know BYU has the resources to match Kentucky, pass Kentucky if they want to. But I think this says a lot about Pope's relationship with him. The fact that Kentucky is now getting like back into the mix and high up on his board, it seems, and then taking a visit out there like that. That I think speaks well to the relationship that he has with Pope.
This video is brought to you by NBA2KLab.com. 2K Lab worked with us last summer as well. They're one of our favorite entities in all of sports gaming. We want to show you their college basketball stadium locator challenge game. And I'm going to share a screen right now as we do this. South Carolina, bang. Oh,
Ooh,
okay, that's pretty good. Next, North Carolina. Why are we only getting the Carolinas?
please
Bang.
lock in.
St. John's, that's New
New
York.
York.
Bang.
Where's New Jersey?
We're on fire. Colorado. I actually don't know what state Colorado is.
It's in Colorado. There's a state of
Is that
Colorado.
this one?
It's to the right of Phoenix.
Anyway, you get the picture. This game's really fun. They've got more games as well, like Guess the NBA Player, Mystery Fantasy Draft, and more. Stay tuned for all of the college football content and games that they'll be putting together to help you get the best experience out of college football 26. Back to the video.
Yeah, and look, I think that, Kentucky is always going to be Kentucky, and I think Kentucky always is going to be an upper echelon school unless they completely tank it, right? Like, let's say they hired a Kenny Payne. I don't even know if Kenny Payne would be able to genuinely take down Kentucky. I think Kentucky might be even Kenny Payne proof, but there is a certain aura, a certain just feel of being Kentucky and playing at Kentucky, and even these players that are from like these younger classes, there is something about wearing that Kentucky across the jersey now. This is one that it seems that Mark Pope is kind of getting back involved with, given that his recruiting is heating up a little bit. And it's interesting because, he's after Kentucky's after so many guards in this class, right?
Mhm.
And frankly, better guards than I guess Anthony, but a different skill set, and also like you aren't gonna get every top 10 guy that you go after. Kentucky seems to be casting a wider net.
Right.
I guess for Anthony, would you say that going to Kentucky would be the best move for him? And then secondly, if Kentucky pulls this off, they can hold this over BYU's head, right? This would be them taking him, I feel like.
That this would be I think a statement from Pope, right? Because of his ties to BYU and the way BYU has taken off since he left. I think it's been a win-win for both parties, honestly, for Kentucky, for Pope, for BYU, for all of it. But there is always going to be some undercurrent of rivalry there, even if it's a friendly rivalry. Just some undercurrent of emotion, more so than other schools. I think that may, I'm not going to say that has something to do with the recruitment because Anthony's a very, very good player. But I think the getting back in probably has more to do with the his performance at the NBA camp than anything else. Like other schools are getting back in. If other schools are getting back in, and I have a relationship with you, and I'm Kentucky, don't forget about us, man. If you're rising up the rankings, we've been buds for a long time. You start relying on some of those past memories there a little bit more than you had in the past. I think this is just them getting back in with a guy that they know who is rising up the rankings. The BYU aspect probably has some, I think could be fun storyline to monitor with it, particularly if it gets down to those two in a battle between those two. But guy going up the rankings, past history, and you mentioned they're going after other guys who are ranked ahead of him. None of those guys are true like defense first guys,
Mhm.
right? So there would be, I think, a role here for Felisi to step into things and a clear need for that kind of style. I think this is just a matter of a guy rising up the rankings. Mark Pope, like, hey, we hung out way back when.
Hey, remember me?
Yeah,
Remember little old me? Why don't we go ahead and revisit that? But look, I do like this from Mark Pope and Kentucky because I think that, you aren't always just going to get all these guys, and you're going to have to, I think, to Mark Pope's credit, I think he's done a great job getting guys from the transfer portal and getting them to basically play to their ceiling, get the
yeah,
most out of them. I think you can do that at the high school level too, when you combine that like high level recruits, get transfers to overperform, and like get maybe the guys in the 40s, 50s, maybe even lower ranked guys in high school to overperform as well. Maybe number nine will come to Kentucky sooner rather than later. And when it does, Ralph is going to be probably banned from the channel, to be honest, because I don't know if everybody will be able to take it. But in all seriousness, it'll be good to see kind of how this plays out. Mark Pope versus BYU battle. I think those are there might be a lot of those coming up the way Coach Young and them are operating over at BYU, by the way.
a lot of fun storylines for us to talk about in the channel. That continues to be the case.
Yeah, and you know what? The channel above all. But shout out to Anthony. It'll be interesting to see how his recruitment works out. Obviously, any updates that he does have, we will have those up on the channel. So be sure to tune back in.